Thank you so much, Steve. Hey guys, this is Mayuresh. A little bit about our background. So I lead two teams, one that actually writes detections in our Qualys Guard platform, and then the other which also mitigates these detections that are found. Gaurav, he's my colleague. He is a part of the second team that writes mitigation. That's a bit about our background, and so that you can know where are we coming from. Um, so this is the problem statement, right? What are the challenges in our current attack surface discovery methods? And then how are we going to, uh, help remediate these attack surfaces, weaknesses? And then what are the benefits of our approaches? Um, so when we talk about attack surface, it is to us, it is more like anything. It can be a device, it can be a hardware, software, even people. Anything that can be quantified, uh, that can be an attack surface. But once it is quantified to us, and once it has been given an identifier, you can call it as a vulnerability, because now that attack surface has a quantifier which can be remediated and can be identified, uniquely identified. So now it becomes a vulnerability. So with that information, let's take it ahead. These are the couple of points that we try to make, where we are saying that, why is attack surface uh, difficult? It's because not all vulnerabilities or remediation workflows are equal. Say, for example, every organization has their own, driveways to remediating a vulnerability. For example, there are customers who say that, okay, severity 5 and above will fix everything. But what happens to 4.5 CVS score? But any, such problems. And then not all attack surface discovery scans are equal. Some can launch authenticated scans, some will be just remote scans. They'll give you, in some cases, they also give you different results. What happens to that differences? And then what happens to the vulnerabilities that don't have a CV at all? Does that vulnerability not exist on your operating systems, or how do you find it, right? And then look at this graph. So these are the vulnerabilities, number of vulnerabilities starting right from 1999. If you look at 321 to last 2024 is where we have in excess of 40,000 CVEs. So these numbers of vulnerabilities being discovered is growing exponentially. Just a short tidbit, Qualys was also discovered we founded in 1999. So you can just include that part of it, because we are also a part of a good number of vulnerabilities. And then who can tell me who has not dealt with any log4j vulnerabilities? It's a very well-known, talked about vulnerability, but can someone tell me that it was very easy to detect and mitigate? I guess everybody agrees that it is difficult to detect and difficult to mitigate at the same time, because it was a shared library. It could be used as an object, or it could be included anywhere in the project, or it could sit anywhere on the operating system. So traditional tools would find difficulty finding them. And then what about the famous XZ supply chain vulnerability from last year? In InfoSec, it feels like a long time, but from XZ vulnerability from last year. So detecting a small change in a binary which was installed on a lot of operating systems. Just imagine the attack surface that it provides you. So with all these challenges, are there any more challenges? Yes, there are definitely more challenges. with all these shared libraries, applications, programs, what happens is you can, why do these exist? These exist because you can install them in multiple places. You can install them at multiple locations. Package managers, for say example, Google Chrome. You can install it using a package manager. You can just double click on the Debian binary and just install it. Or you can even compile it from source code, right? Each time you'll get some variability in the type, depending on the type of installation. What happens then? Are you going to be able to detect that attack surface that, say a certain version of Google Chrome is existing on your operating system? How are you going to find that? So, and then what happens to those Google Chrome binaries when you want to, patch them, right? Because once you rename them, or once you don't find them, you can't patch what you can't see. So there is no visibility. You have a loss of the mean time to patch or mean time to detect increases exponentially, because of which, again, there is no visibility. And then sometimes it may happen that a vulnerability was detected, say, 6 months ago, but the vendor chose to patch it only one of those classes of vulnerabilities. What happens to that? And what happens to those vulnerabilities which are EOL, which have, there is no patch, there is no support from the vendor. So we're trying to solve one part of the problem. No, in fact, both the part of problems by not being the vendors themselves, but helping everybody detect and mitigate these type of vulnerabilities. How? So the system that we came up with is called as VEDA. It's the vulnerability elimination through deep analysis. So it includes 4 different methods which are used in conjunction with each other. Very basically, we use feature extraction from multiple locations, multiple sources. Now, it can be your it is your security bulletins, and we correlate that with the information in the binary to pinpoint that the vulnerability is in some certain code block or a function or wherever. And then we will be able to pinpoint that this vulnerability exists in this binary. So the first method that I'm going to talk about is the feature extraction method. So in this method, we use about 1,300. So since this is a project that we're still working on and thinking of productizing, there are 1,300 plus features that we currently extract from binaries. Both binaries, because that's a data set for us, both patched and vulnerable binaries. And then we extract features from CV identifiers. What features? Okay. So the features I'll get to in a second, but so these are the sample size. So we collected data from NVD, GitHub advisories, nuclei, template, folders, and all of that. All of these were fed into our system. And then this is what we look at. So we use classic supervised machine learning based topic modeling on the information. We take into consideration CPE. We extract, if CW is not there, we extract it. We have the ability to extract it. We also take into consideration CVSS 2, 3, 4. There was a talk by the Korean CERT guys yesterday where they beautifully showed that there's a difference between CVSS 3 and CVSS 4 calculations. So that shows how important considering all these classes are, CVSS classes are. And then these in this part of information we marry with the information from binary. Now, why is this important? Is, as you can see on the right side, this is published by MITRE. These are the 2024 KEV list of CPEs. High, we know that KEV is a well-regarded metric for vulnerability management guys now. So this information, we use it, and then we extract the code blocks from the binaries. So simple information such as what are the syscalls being used, what are the register. So we execute the binaries. What are the how do the registers move in certain cases? For example, if in case a vulnerable binary responds to a POC, is there a difference between that and a non-vulnerable binary? If there's a difference in metadata, simple metadata, things like ASLR, DEP, CFG, all of these we take into consideration, marry this, and this is how we send it to a trained classifier. Using all of this information, we send it to a trained classifier. We have a short demo for you. We couldn't really get the whole, appliance here, but this is a short 20-second demo. Let's hope. Okay, so what we are showing here is we are comparing two Linux binaries. This is a short video. So over here, you can see there's a difference between, so you saw that we have found the difference between assembly. And then we were, with a confidence level, we were able to find out the CWE information from this binary. And what we were able to find here was that this binary possibly, or with a, in this case, with a confidence of 100%, is a variant of shell shock vulnerability. So we are still improving this whole system, but we are here now. So this is it. To explain more about the second method, I'll have Gaurav talk about this second method.
Thank you, Mayuresh. So we discussed the challenges that we are facing in discovering vulnerabilities and how our new innovative approaches are helping us find vulnerabilities from binaries and using these two new methods. I'll be discussing the deep learning method that we're using and how it is slightly different from the feature extraction method that we discussed. Since it is an ongoing research, we are trying different methods to do so. So we start with some auto feature extraction from both vulnerable and patch binaries. Of course, we have to do it for both, so we can have ample data for positive and negative cases. And then we do some kind of feature labeling using the CVE, CWE information, CVSS information that we discussed earlier. And to explain this process, it's pretty straightforward. We reverse engineer the binary, we pick the code blocks. Now, when we reverse engineer the binary, we have these code blocks. You can consider those functions if you like, and then they are sent to our LLM that we have fine-tuned ourselves. It's we're using offline LLM. We're running it ourselves. It's not, we're not using some API service there, so because of data privacy and security. And those LLMs then generate the embeddings, and those embeddings are then vectorized, and we label those vectors with CVE, CWE, CVSS information so that we can add labels to them. And then later we send it to our vector database so we can perform classification. To picturize it, to give you a more graphical view, you can look at this flow. This is how it looks like. This is the process or that our framework takes care of. Now, which models are we using? We have tested Code Llama, Code Gen 2, and Mistral. We have had various different levels of performance and accuracy. And these models were trained using the supervised learning method, the classic supervised training. And our data set included CESA-KEV and some curated list of vulnerabilities that Qualys threat research unit was able to collect. So without training, without any additional information, there wasn't a lot of accuracy. But when we included when we included data from the Qualys DB, vulnerabilities, CVE, CVE, CVSS, all that information that we collect using threat research unit, we were able to fine tune it and get some more accuracy here. Now, to test the classifier, it was a pretty simple format, map the binary to CPEs because we want to know which specific vendor the CPE is associated with, right? And then we send the binary to Veda. Veda will take care of reverse engineering it, finding the code blocks, and then vectorizing it, sending it to the vector DB, and then giving us a classification result, much like how we did it in our previous demo. So this demo is going to be similar, and we have a short video for you. So as you can see, we have some information here, the information about both the binaries. Again, it's the same set of binaries. One is vulnerable, other one is patched. And then we start our MCP server, we'll send the data to our LLM, and it tells us with some confidence that it is vulnerable against shell shock and variants of shell shock vulnerabilities. Now, vulnerabilities, as we understand, reside in code. And code has context, and we need that context, right? So because code provides context, we look at the binary code. That's why I discussed reverse engineering. We have those code blocks. Without the context, we won't know what does the vulnerability mean. Is it associated with some weakness? Some metadata may not be 100% accurate. So in this specific method, we try to go inside the binary and get the data out. But that's not good enough. I have to give you some example. So I have some sample code here. This is a very basic, simple buffer overflow example. As you can see, I've assigned a small buffer and I'm overflowing it. So it's a very classic example of some vulnerable code. So I'm not saying this is exactly the code that will go into Veda, but it is something similar. This is the kind of code that will go into Veda in our system when we do our reverse engineering, when we try to find the vulnerabilities in the vulnerable code. So remember, vulnerabilities require context and code has context. So we look at that context, we look at the code. Now, simply detection is not enough. We have to go one step ahead. We have to actually fix those vulnerabilities. We have to mitigate those vulnerabilities. Now, but what are even mitigations about, right? Mitigations are small pieces of code or some kind of configuration that you can apply. They're totally stateless. They don't use a lot of resources, and they can eliminate the attack surface, sort of, and you can use it. You can actually try to risk eliminate. We have elimination available for you. We have a trial available. I'll share the QR code. But the point is, mitigations will make sure that vulnerabilities cannot be exploited. Now, what are the benefits of these approaches? So major benefits, we don't have to worry about the version of the software anymore. It's all one version independent analysis. And it's comprehensive vulnerability mitigation in a sense that we cover the attack surface, and we have reduced dependency on software updates because we're not patching it. So since vulnerabilities are in the code and Veda hunts vulnerabilities within the code, we're not trying to look for package managers. We're not trying to look for software versions. So it becomes version independent detection, right? And when we talk about comprehensive vulnerability mitigations, we're also looking at repackaged applications. So like we discussed some time ago, a few minutes ago during this presentation, that log4j can be used anywhere. Similarly, Chrome can be used anywhere. You can have an Electron application and Chrome libraries could be there. And some detection software may not detect it because Chrome is now part of this new application and it's bundled together within the binary. So to find whether something is vulnerable or not, we have to go inside the code and look at the code and then see, oh, this part is vulnerable, which means the whole software is vulnerable. And how do we mitigate that? We cut off the attack surface. We apply some kind of configuration or some kind of change, which will make sure that the mitigation becomes payload agnostic. We don't want to stick to a specific exploit that some specific exploit is out there, it's going to mitigate. We don't want to do that. We want to cover the entire attack surface. And for that, we apply a payload agnostic mitigation. It could be some registry change or configuration change. Now, since we're not depending upon patches, we're not relying on software updates. Software updates can sometimes be expensive from multiple points of view. They could include breaking changes, or you may have to purchase a new license. You may have to purchase a new hardware device. Sometimes softwares go end of life. Sometimes hardware devices go end of life and they're not supported. So what do we do then? Sometimes we're not even able to patch. Sometimes we're not able to update the same software. We have to purchase the upgraded version of the license. So that's where mitigations help more. And I think to help you with that, I have some QR code with you. If you have some time, you can try out True Risk Eliminate, and you can try mitigations yourself. This will give you an exclusive 30-day free trial. And please take your time and scan if you like.
I'd like to thank you both. Thanks, Qualys, for a great presentation. Appreciate your time today.